Welcome into the Daily Wager studios here on the Las Vegas Strip alongside Joe Fortenbaugh. I'm Doug Kazarian. So Carson Wentz officially traded to Indianapolis, reunited with his old offense coordinator and Frank Reich. What's your initial reaction here?
Love it. It's one of the reasons I talked about Indianapolis last week at 25-1 to win the Super Bowl. You knew they were going to upgrade the quarterback position, and they got aggressive. And quite frankly, this is a fantastic business transaction. You're giving up a third this year, a conditional second next year, and when you pick up this contract, it's essentially a 4-year deal, $24.6 million a year. Or you can cut him after 2 years, and it would be $23 million a year with no dead cap obligations. This is what they call buying the dip. Everybody's down on Wentz, so you end up getting a good deal. But why was everyone down on him? Well, he's getting hurt all the time. Bad offensive line, everybody injured. Couldn't throw the ball down the field. No weapons. Everybody at wide receiver was injured. In Indianapolis, he's going to have a good offensive line. Indianapolis, he's going to have weapons. You might be able to find some of that magic from a few years ago when he went to the Pro Bowl, and that's going to make this an excellent price point.
He was an MVP frontrunner, let's call it what it was, when he was with Frank Reich and then before the injury. But that was many years ago, many turnovers ago.
Yeah.
So the defenders of Wentz would like to say it is O-line. It is a lack of weapons and the injuries that he had in Philly, and that should be resolved with Indy. But I wonder if some of the bad habits are more permanent than we want to give it credit for and just maybe Philly specific. And that is the giant question as we bring in Stanford Steve. Steve, so Reich now has Wentz back under his tutelage. Are you buying the Colts next year as a legit contender?
I am. I just simply look at it as the fact that at the quarterback position and what they had. Last year, they brought in Phillip Rivers. Did I think it was going to work? Not to the extent that Frank Reich made it work. They made a playoff team. I didn't think they were going to be a playoff team with Rivers at the helm. That just shows you how good Reich is. We know the past. You guys have talked about it. It's an upgrade at the position. You talk about taking steps to get better. They're right there against Buffalo in the wild card game. So I think they are legit. There's a lot of pieces on there. I do like Fortenbaugh's take, even though I don't agree with him all the time about how they bought low there. It's a good asking price, and they got it. So I think the Colts are legit. I do like it. So, yeah, give me.
And they do have more cap space once free agency begins. Mm-hmm. Last year it was a 2-horse race. Both the Titans and Colts finished 11-5. Steve, who do you like in the division as of now? Obviously, a lot of pieces can still move to eventually emerge.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there were two kind of toss-up games to go. There's still so much to go. You mentioned with the rosters and the draft and all that coming out, but I think I would lean total roster-wise. I would lean Colts here. Arthur Smith's leaving Tennessee. We don't know how that's going to unfold with their offense and Tannehill going forward. So stability, maybe a little upside. I go Colts.
Yeah, it's all fair. And we should clarify, Steve, thank you, that just because the odds moved from 25-1 to 22-1, it's not like odds makers don't think Wentz is that impactful. They were anticipating that the Colts would have an upgrade. They thought it'd be Wentz. It was already baked into the original 25-1. So just sort of a little housekeeping on that. I'm willing to give the Colts the benefit of the doubt, and we have seen Nick Foles win Super Bowl MVP outdueling Brady, have a playoff run like no other. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes to lead a team to a Super Bowl title, or even Brady this year. You can be sort of that game manager, and the ceiling does not have to be that high. So when Frank Reich, with the free agency, built a solid team around Wentz and has a great offensive line and a strong defense, Wentz doesn't need to be all-world or an MVP candidate. So is he as good and on par with, like, the last season of Phillip Rivers? I think that can certainly be the case. I do think his decision-making has to improve. He's got the tools. He's got the size, the arm strength. It's just some of the throws, instead of throwing away, he'd force it. When I'm talking there in the red zone, Joe, and he'd have a turnover and a touchback to their team. Just inexplicable decision-making.
Happy feet, hearing ghosts, seeing ghosts, all that stuff. This is a guy who was in a situation, Philly inexplicably wanted him taking 7-step drops and throwing the ball down the field with their C and D receivers because everyone else was hurt, and an offensive line that had no starters. And then they wondered why it didn't work. Put the guy in a position to win. 3-step drop, bang, get the ball out of your hands. Indy's at least going to realize how to do that, and they've got the O-line, one of the best in the business, and the weapons to put him in its
and
chance
it's hard
to
change all that when you're in Philly. Now It's much easier, clean start, back with Reich, familiar voice, and I think if he just trusts and takes small bites, I think they should be okay, and I think the ceiling is pretty high. Now, are they on the same level as the AFC teams like the Ravens, Chiefs, and Bills? Time will tell, but they had 11 wins last year with Rivers. I think they can get there again with Wentz. That's the ceiling. We'll see if they reach it that high, though.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.